How would your party improve social mobility, help Singaporeans who feel they've been left behind, and ultimately emerge from this crisis stronger and more cohesive as a society? You have a minute and a half, and your time starts now.
You know, Dr. Balakrishnan, you and I, we come from the same school. And that school has taught us that we serve others first before we serve ourselves. And the problem that I see here is that with your government has amassed and focused all the top schools, all the elite schools in Bukit Timah area, right? You remember Whitley Secondary School was moved out from there. Swiss Cottage was moved out from there. All to move in SJI, SCGS, and in Nanyang, NJC, Hua Chong. Everybody's just amassed in the Bukit Timah area. And then we tell families that if they want to ballot, they come in within 1 kilometer of the school and they can apply for the children to be in those schools. Now, how many people can really afford living in buying a house in Bukit Timah area? And here's the problem. When you have education, it's the great leveler. When you have a system like this, when you put all your neighborhood schools outside of the choices district, and then you put all your top schools, you are going to get this widening of not just in society, but ultimately in our income divide. And that's not something which we really should be going towards. And the other problem is this. We have elderly people not being able to even make ends meet, having to sell cardboard. And then you have ministers like you making $150,000 a month. That is simply not right.
Thank you very much. Your time has run out, Dr. Chee. Mr. Yuen, I'm going to give you the floor now, and you do have a minute and a half. Your time starts now.
Okay, we live in, we have a first world country, so to speak, gleaming skylines and all the infrastructures that looks beautiful from the outside. But the majority of people are actually third world citizens from the viewpoint of poverty. There was number quoted that you have more than 100,000 households living in poverty, which is about 300,000 people. Something is wrong, basically. How can a country which is so prosperous end up with this level of poverty? Secondly, as Dr. Chee mentioned, basically we have the issue of great income inequality created. So now you have a have and have not. It's because we do not have a really strong social safety net created for the people. People are left behind without. So our party, PSP, believe that the first thing we need to do is spend more money to invest in a strong social safety net. If we have that, the COVID crisis will be easier to handle. Secondly, we have not also spent enough to make sure that the poor is taken care of. For instance, like housing is still very expensive. Healthcare, why are we spending so little on healthcare? You know, the OECD countries spend 6 to 8%, we spend less than 5%. We could have taken things like the insurance scheme for healthcare paid by the government. That helps to relieve and give them more opportunity to actually, have resources for other things. Education, Dr. Chee talks about it, I don't want to belabor, it's a leveler.
Thank you very much.
So we need to have that.
Your time has run out. Mr. Yuen, Dr. Lim, if you could just close things off for the opposition.
Absolutely.
Your minute and a half.
Thank you. Well, so I'm going to start by thanking Mr. Yuen. I agree absolutely that a very big part of social mobility is ensuring that we take care of those that have already contributed to our economy and our society in the years where they were putting in the effort. So we absolutely need to take care of our elderly that lives among us. I had shared previously in other fora that it is really a crime that we see the elderly continue to feel that they have to work in order to have make ends meet. So that is one of the elements of social mobility that we feel that elements like a minimum wage will actually help us move toward increasing social mobility. Now, Dr. Chee mentioned as well about education, and as an educator myself, that warms the cockles of my heart. But unfortunately, we have moved away. When I was in school, we used to have an educational system where really there was equality of opportunities. But if you look at the schools now, you don't see that, and Dr. Chee mentioned one of the elements where we can actually bring about greater equality by ensuring that the schools that are not the elite schools actually get a disproportionately higher amount of educational spending. Now, the other element which we feel strongly about is decreasing class sizes, because I think this ironically ends up penalizing students that are in large classes and are forced to take lessons, additional lessons out of the classroom in the form of private tuition.
Thank you very much. Dr. Balakrishnan, you have 4.5 minutes as well to address the question, and if you want, whatever has been raised here as well. Your time starts now.
We started off as a society of immigrants. And if you think about that, what it meant was we built it on an ethos of hard work, family responsibility, collective community responsibility, savings, and of course, education. The other point is social mobility. I said we started off equally poor. Yes, it is true in our transition so far, some families have moved ahead. But what is the focus of our social safety net? And I want to highlight a couple. First, we have been very, very focused on uplifting less well-off families. We don't believe in class warfare. We don't believe in socking it to the rich. We believe in lifting, especially the less well-off, the most vulnerable, in order to achieve the equality of opportunity that you're aiming for. For schools, it's not a question of brand name or otherwise. It's a question of making every school a good school. And not as a slogan, but looking at the real investments which we put in schools. You have worked overseas, and I dare say every neighborhood school of ours is a school that we can be very proud of. Anywhere. I'll take on any country's schools as far as we're concerned. So we believe in education, we believe in giving an uplift to children from less well-off families. Let's look at vulnerable families. Look at ComCare and all the assistance packages. You know, there are too many to name, right? But you know as well as I do, especially in times like this, additional cash is flowing to our less well-off families. Like you can talk about GST, U-Save rebates, grocery rebates, and this excludes all the local schemes. I totally agree with you. I do not like to see seniors having to work unless they wanted to. And actually, every constituency has the capability to make sure we don't see this. And I want to encourage everyone to do so. But the other point about social security, I hope you agree with me. The best form of welfare is a job. And in fact, there is nothing more demoralizing, more corrosive to the soul than long-term unemployment. No amount of generous unemployment benefits can compensate for that. So our efforts are focused on jobs, and certain key elements. You mentioned a minimum wage. Actually, we're on the same page. We both want to raise wages. But how have we done it? We instituted the progressive wage. Not a ceiling, but a ladder. And I speak from experience because I moved progressive wage for cleaners in 2014. Net result now, 30%. Is that sufficient? No, I wanted to go further. Now, progressive wages at the moment, 3 areas. Cleaning, security, landscape. I want it extended across the board. We can argue. I think we agree on the aims. It's a question of how we achieve it. And then seniors. Mr. Yuen, think about it. We do have the best healthcare system in the world. It's not a question of how much we spend, but how well we spend. You think about the Pioneer Generation Package, the Merdeka Generation Package, you think about the Community Health Assistance Scheme, available to everyone. You think about the schemes, the changes we've made to MediShield Life, CareShield Life, I can go on and on. Again, the point here is inclusivity. We will not leave anyone behind. We will look after our seniors. We will give them the due dignity that they have. But remember, we have not lost our roots and our focus. Uplifting people who are vulnerable, jobs, and the dignity that comes with jobs, and increasing it in a way that does not erode the competitiveness of our economy as a whole, so that we can continue to create jobs and good jobs.